Big Ten versus A-10 on a sunny Sunday afternoon in College Park right before Thanksgiving weekend. My name is Owen Korzak alongside Adam Lipman, Noah Ghelli, and welcome to WMUC Sports. Number 9, Maryland women's basketball plays host to the George Mason Patriots from Fairfax, Virginia, so not too far of a drive. And Adam, what are you looking for in this afternoon's matchup?
Well, the Terps are trying to close out their homestand today before they go off to Puerto Rico, and they'll try and do that against a George Mason team that made some program history last year, Owen, winning the A-10 for the first time, and they're right back at it, 4-1 this season, and they've won their last 4. So after dropping that first game to Temple, they've rebounded, and they're going to try and pull off an upset again today against the Terps.
Yeah, and George Mason, not only did they win the A-10, they really dominated that tournament, pretty much crushed everyone. They ended up beating St. Joe's in the championship by about 15 points. As tip-off is underway shortly, the starters for Maryland, Kayleen Smichael, Sailor Poffenbarger, Aluchi Okanwa, Kendall Walker, who's making her second straight start, and then Yarden Garzone. For George Mason, we have Kennedy Harris, Jada Brown, Zahira Walton, Malaya Johnson, and Louise Volker.
And I mean, Owen, Kendall Walker entered last game against Bethune-Cookman 0 for 10 in her last field goal attempts. And then she put on quite the show, breaking out. And it's an important time to be breaking out for Maryland because they're still dealing with some injuries, whether it's from Leah Bartelma or Addie Mack. They have not been able to field the lineup that they've wanted all season. So it's been a challenge to some of these players on the bench. Can you step up? Will you be the player that we go to when conference play starts in just a few weeks? I believe the first game is against Minnesota in the Big Ten. And that will be a key test because Maryland, while they are facing some tough opponents, including a Kentucky team in Puerto Rico, they have not had the rigor of conference play yet, and you don't want to be experimenting at that point. You want to be ready to go and have exactly who you want on the court.
And Maryland, it's not all been smooth sailing as tip-off. Maryland wins the opening tip. Kendall Walker from the point. Sends it over to Poffenbarger, putting up an early shot beyond the arc off the rim, and that ball's going to go out of bounds, I believe, by Garzone, and the Patriots are going to take over. So Maryland aggressive early, but missed their opening shot, something we don't see too often. Maryland typically starts off pretty hot. But here come the Mason Patriots. Like you said, coming off of a historic season. From the point. Working on Okanwa are the Patriots now as the shot clock winding down. Shot from the paint. Great contestation from Garzone, but it goes through anyway. Johnson with a great shot there, and here come the Terps right back at it. Walker sends it back for Sailor. Sailor looks for a shot. A very nice pass to Smichael for 3. Off the rim again, so Maryland starts for 0 for 2 from beyond the arc. Patriots now, quick setup. Here's Walton. Underneath and easy for this Patriots team leading scorer. And now Kendall Walker, Zahira Walker, averaging over 19 a game for George Mason this season. She's been everything and more that they could ask for. Okanwa sends it to Garzone beyond the arc. Garzone back to Walker. Walker attacking the rim, looked for a pass, but turns it over. Garzone fell down, and now the Patriots on a fast break. Setting up Harris. Harris will go back and try to get the ball into the paint, but Maryland takes over, and here comes Okanwa, and a foul on Mason. She lays it in. It's not going to count. The foul was well before the shot. But regardless, Maryland's going to be able to set up in a slow start for a Terps team that's coming in as the heavy favorites.
Well, the Terps just haven't, needed to play so fast because when you come into the game as the better team, you don't need to be rushing. For George Mason, this is exactly what they need to be doing, creating opportunities early, knowing that they might not come later.
Walker inbounding it to Smichael with some contact and 1. So Maryland tries 2 3-pointers early, doesn't convert on either of them. They're going to get 3 points in one possession on an and 1 by Kayleen Smichael, one of the best players on this Maryland team, one of the best players in the Big Ten, reigning second team All Big Ten, and she'll go to the line First free throw opportunity, and she drains it. Nothing but net. And some confusion. Garzone thought that Maryland had the ball still. She was about to go the other way. It's going to be George Mason's ball. So some confusion. Garzone has a lap with Schmeichel. Might be seeing an early substitution here, or not. Walton sends it over to Johnson. Johnson with a lot of room. She's going to attack the rim, then kick it out. On the corner, and a takeaway there by Garzone. And now Poffenbarger takes it past half court. She shows some nice handles beyond the arc, but now Schmeichel with it. Schmeichel sends it back to Poffenbarger. Nice pump fake. Sends it to Garzone. Garzone buries it. Maryland takes the lead after a slow start. They have 2 straight three-point possessions. This one, a beautiful shot from Yarden Garzone.
On her birthday, she's already showing out. And, you know, Coach Freeze talked about she wants Garzone to be less unselfish, take the ball more. Right there she does, and it pays off. That's why you got her to transfer here from Indiana.
Took a ball away from Patriot, back in her own zone. Maryland was able to get it back towards their net, and they capitalized. But the Patriots now with a three-point shot of their own off the rim, and Garzone, a busy game early, collects her first rebound. She's got some room, looking for Walker maybe. She'll kick it out to Okonowa. Nice pump fake there. Okonowa attacking the rim. Beautiful move. And that's her first points of the afternoon here in what's been a back-and-forth start, really. Mason came out to a quick 4-0 lead. 8-0 run for the Terps, though. As Walton analyzing the field. Working on Schmeichel. Excuse me, that's to Harris, not Walton. She goes to Walton. Working on Walker. Shot clock running out. They haven't even gotten a shot opportunity up. Volker, she's going to put one up, and that one's blocked. It's going to be a shot clock violation. It was going to be an air ball regardless. So Maryland's defense, after a slower start, getting right back to it.
So it looks like George Mason caught them off guard a little bit early, but the Terps have made the adjustment. They're now in full control. And like you were talking about, Owen, they've shut down the George Mason offense to a degree where it's been all Maryland, and it hasn't even been close for George Mason. They haven't been missing close buckets. They've just had no chance.
Kendall Walker had some open court for a shot, for a three-point shot. She's going to drive and draw a foul, so Maryland's going to go to the charity strike. We're looking at early shooting percentages. Maryland 60%, George Mason 66.7. However, the turnovers has been the difference so far. Mason with 3 already, Maryland with just 1. Terps are going back to the line here with Kendall Walker. 6:27 remaining in this first quarter. First shot goes up, drains it. Nothing but net for Maryland. Let's see what happens on the second shot. Terps up 9-4. Walker makes it 10-4 after her second straight free throw. So Maryland 3 for 3 from the charity strike here early. And the inbound, Mason sticking with the same 5. So have Maryland. So no substitutions early yet. Maryland has gone through a lot of players this year. They've gotten a lot of young players, early experience. Brown, some nice handles there. Drives the net, draws a foul on Walker. Walker's trying to plead her case. It's not going to matter. As Harris will go to the line. Kennedy Harris, a junior. She was the Atlantic 10 Player of the Week 2 times last year. She received all-conference second-team honors. We said Mason reigning Atlantic 10 conference champions. Got blown out by Florida State, though, in the first round of the tournament. Kennedy Harris converts, and that's Mason's first points in a pretty long time. So they're now down 10-5. Second shot. Drained, and a much bigger crowd than we normally see here at the Xfinity Center. George Mason, a pretty local team, about an hour away, as Garzone tried to loft one towards Schmeichel in the paint. That one goes over her head, though.
And that's been really the issue for Maryland so far this season. They've been taking a lot of risky passes, trying to, execute some interesting strategies that just have not paid off. And you have to wonder, can they become more disciplined in their passing game? Clean up this turnover problem, and then also make more of some of their possessions.
Mason just gets past half court with 2 seconds to spare before violation. Shot from the free throw line goes in. Mary Omotang with a nice shot there as Maryland now. Schmeichel floats it to Ozzy Mamadou on the court for the first time. Sends it back. Open is Okonawa, and she drains it. A nice mid-range jumper there. It was close to being a three-pointer, and Maryland keeping pace with Mason after kind of a slow start. They're up 12-8 now. Harris driving the net. That one really good defense there by Okonawa, but the offensive rebound for the Patriots. Great pass there, and it goes off of a Patriot. It was a fantastic feed from MJ Johnson. She tried to get it to Omoateng. Ball rolls out of bounds. It'll remain Mason possession, though.
And I think we've seen that George Mason have been, it looks like they're so close to some of these travel calls, Owen, that they've just not been exposed for yet. But instead, they've been doing a great job getting the fouls and breaking up Maryland's momentum.
And Rainey Wilson is checked in for Maryland. She's taking the role of Schmeichel. And a mid-range jumper, nothing but net for Walton, who is working on Wilson. Garzone, nice feed to Okonawa. Nice pass to Ozzy Mamadou. She rolls off the rim, gets the rebound, and converts the second chance opportunity there. Maryland goes up by 4 again, 14-10 here with about 5 minutes remaining in this opening quarter. Omoateng from the arc drains it, and this is now a one-point game, excuse me. Poffenbarger now for Maryland, the other way. Lost control of the ball for a second. She had a nice pass there to Ozzy Mamadou. She had an open Wilson beyond the arc. She decides to take the shot. Misses, rolls off of a Patriots foot, though, it appears, as we will have our 5-minute media timeout here now, as the Terps lead the George Mason Patriots 14-13 with 4:32 left in the first quarter. We'll be right back. Welcome back to WMUC Sports Radio. My name is Owen Korzak alongside Adam Lipman, and we're going to hear from our sideline reporter, Noah Ghelli, for the first time. Noah, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Owen. So I'm here. I got some keys for the game for Maryland to pull this one off over George Mason. First off, the rebounding. George Mason, despite starting off hot, they average only 37% from the field. So with their shooting percentage, if it comes down to earth, Maryland will have to keep the rebounds and not let the Patriots get any second chances. Also, Maryland needs to get Olochu Okinawa to keep going. She is off to a hot start, 4 points, 2 for 2 from the field, and she scored double digits in all 6 of Maryland's games so far. And on the defensive side of the ball, they need to limit Zahira Walton. Walton averages 19.6 points per game and 8.8 rebounds and scored 17 and 7 against Georgetown in George Mason's win against the Big East foe. But she already with 4 points, they're going to have to lock in on defense to keep her from having a big game.
Talked about Okinawa and Walton. Both of them just scored fast break points. So it remains a 1-point game. Maryland up 16-15. Garzone to Okinawa. Okinawa heads to Ozzy Mamadou. Still just in the paint, takes the shot. A nice, tough bucket there for Ozzy Mamadou. And Maryland extending their lead now. Welton beyond the arc. Drains it, nothing but net. And Welton, you talked about how she's off to a slow start. She's just converted her last 2 buckets, and this game is all tied up with 3:30 left in the first quarter.
Well, Owen, it sounds like Noah gave us the script for this game.
Yeah, really. Spoke it into existence. Wilson, a nice move, but she is rejected by Volker. Now Walton coming the other way. Patriots with momentum now. Walton attacking the rim, and one. No, they're not. It's not going to be and one. They're going to call it a foul before the shot, so Maryland gets away with one there. But it's going to be on Ozzy Mamadou. That's Maryland's 3rd foul already, so we've seen 3 fouls on both ends. Noah also talked about rebounding. Mason out rebounding the Terrapins right now, 5-3. Still a stoppage here. I think Mason's trying to get some substitutes. There's another foul. Looked likely on the inbound. It's on Schmeichel. Oh, and Welton's wide open on the inbound, buries it, and now Mason with their first lead since early in the game. And then you had Garzone try to feed it down the court to Schmeichel. I believe it went off of her hand. Just a high-risk, high-reward play for Maryland there.
And, well, the high reward is still yet to be seen because that just had too much zip on it. And you have to wonder if Maryland slowed things down a little bit there, could they have had a higher quality possession and tried to take back the lead? Because for the first time in a while, they're actually trailing. And, I mean, nothing against this George Mason team, but for how good this Maryland team is in the country and how highly they're ranked, it is a surprise to see them not dominating early.
Yeah, and George Mason, like we said, they're a very, very solid team in the A-10. However, the number 9 Terps should be able to take care of them pretty easily. Mason women's basketball team is pretty much the heart and soul of that school, though.
I mean, I feel like the story so far is Walton has 12 points. That's more than double the next best of 5. Both of those are on George Mason, so Maryland's defense are going to need some answers for Walton, who has been going off quite early and doesn't look to be stopping anytime soon.
Absolutely. In Maryland, their leader in points is Okinawa. She's only got 6 so far here today. That's, like you said, almost half of what Walton has. Walton with 11 here. She's already nearly at her season average, and there was a review. I believe they were saying it was out on Mason initially on the deep pass from Garzone to Schmeichel. From where I saw it, it looked like it clearly went off Schmeichel's hands, but call is overturned, and Mason is going to retain possession, already up. So Maryland finding themselves in, like you said, a rare deficit here early. Maryland, not only have they been winning by a lot, but we have seen them start kind of slow in some games, like the Georgetown game in Princeton. Here comes Welton, and Welton cannot be stopped. Just with ease, attacks the rim and buries a layup. Garzone now. Now Schmeichel goes to Ozzy Mamadou. She kicks it out to Poffenbarger. Saylor. A nice pick there from Ozzy Mamadou, but Mason doing a good job picking it up. Nice pass from Saylor to the paint. Ozzy Mamadou misses the shot. Second chance won't go. Patriots with the rebound, and it's George Mason here right now. A 7-0 run over the past minute and a half or so. And they're 6 of their last 6. And that one would be 6 of their last 7. Not a great shot there from Johnson. Just went over I think it hit the top of the rim there.
You know, it's just, that's one moment where Maryland are playing you so tough that you're just trying to get a shot off and not get the ball stolen from you. So not much you can do there, but I mean, we've just seen that Maryland have struggled to build momentum because every time they've got something going, George Mason get a turnover or a foul that disrupts what they're working on.
Schmeichel, some nice moves. Shot mid-range, won't go. Rebound Patriots. Johnson takes it past half court. Working on Boyko, trying to feed it to the rim. Tried to get it to a Moatang, who's the second leading scorer on this Patriot team today. It won't go, and it'll go out of bounds. Maryland ball. Kennedy Harris is heading on the court, and Maryland, a sigh of relief as Walton. She's going to the bench for now. And a well-deserved break for a player who has 13 of Mason's 22 points and is nearly keeping pace with Maryland by herself. Walker to Poffenbarger. From beyond the arc, he's going to give it to Schmeichel, to Boyko. Boyko, nice pass to Poffenbarger, mid-range, fade away, good. Great shot there from the captain for this Terps team. And the deficit is cut in half here, 22-20, George Mason. Harris, mid-range, won't go, rebound Saylor. Here comes Poffenbarger, taking it herself, trying to go coast to coast. She falls and turns it over. Here come the Patriots, fast break. Volker, nice move, easy layup there. And now Walker going the other way. Got it to Garzone, Walker wasn't ready for the return, and here comes Harris. Mason with a chance for more fast breaks. Won't go. Great defense there by Boyko on Harrison. The Terps can slow it down here for a second. Garzone, great pass there to Saylor, who wanted it earlier. Goes to Boyko. Boyko, probably the tallest person. Garzone, 3. Won't go. Poffenbarger. He's just getting swarmed defensively. Somehow gets it to Garzone, who goes to Walker. Walker had Schmeichel alone, decided to keep it. Shot clock running out and a turnover. George Mason with a nice pass break up there. And the Patriots are kind of just playing in the Terps' head right now, it seems. Maryland with 4 turnovers in the last 3 minutes, 3 of them in the last minute and 3. And a Moatang working on Harris at the point. Looks at her coach for some guidance here. We got 20 seconds left in this quarter. A foul, or I believe it might have been a travel there. And it was. So Maryland will have 18 seconds to work with here. They trail by 4 here. They found themselves in a 4-point deficit early, but right now Maryland shooting 44%, George Mason 67%.
Averaging a turnover in the last 30 seconds, going back to a full minute and a half here. Just unforeseen for the Terps, who, while they've had their issues giving the ball away, has never been exposed to this degree.
Garzone is getting pressed by a Moatang. Garzone attacking, sends it back. Saylor for 3. Won't go. Rebound Walker. Couldn't get it, and Maryland, I believe, will be retaining possession. They will. Schmeichel will be the one to inbound it. We'll see what they do here with 3.4 seconds down 4. Schmeichel to Saylor. Back to Schmeichel. She's going to have to just put one up. And I believe she stepped out of bounds. The Terps actually drew a foul there. With 1 second left, they'll have a chance for maybe one more shot, but that's the 3rd stoppage now in the past 20 seconds or so that Maryland has had a chance. So it'd be interesting to see what the Terps decide to do here. Looks like Garzone's going to be the one to inbound.
The foul was charged to MJ Johnson there on the contact.
It's her first, the team's 4th. And a few substitutions here with just 1 second left. Patriots getting some size out there. But a quarter that's really been back and forth. Garzone to Walker. Walker airballs what would have been the buzzer beater opportunity, and George Mason with the fantastic start. They lead the Terps 24-20 in this A-10 versus Big Ten matchup. We'll be back after the break. Before we go, it might be a foul here. There was a foul called. I'm not sure. We're going to go to the end of the quarter anyway. I don't believe it was a shooting foul. So, as I was saying, Terps trail 24-20 to the George Mason Patriots. We'll be back after the break. Back to WMUC Sports Radio. We had a little bit more happening in this first quarter than we thought. It looks like Maryland's going to get 3 free throws on a foul by a Moatang. So Kendall Walker is going to go to the line with 4 ticks to go in this first quarter. So Maryland might be able to be down less than they thought. So Walker, who's perfect from the charity strike here this afternoon. First shot. Drains it. Nothing but net. And so it's a 3-point game now. So Maryland catches a break with a shooting foul on a Moatang on a 3-point shot that would have been a buzzer beater by Walker. Second free throw. Good. So she remains perfect from the line here. Maryland with 6 turnovers in this first quarter. Walker's third and final free throw. Good. So with 4 ticks left, Mason might be able to get a shot off. Walton puts one up after the buzzer. It wasn't even close. So officially, we will go into this first quarter break. Maryland trailing 23-24 to the George Mason Patriots. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back for the second quarter of today's Maryland-George Mason women's basketball game. George Mason leading this one 24-23 after a back-and-forth first quarter. And our sideline reporter, Noah Ghelli, has more to say about it.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, George Mason shooting just 37% from the field this year. But so far through this first quarter, they're shooting a staggering 67% from the field and 67% from three. That level of efficiency will not be sustainable for the Terps defense if they want to stay in this game. And also for Maryland, 6 first quarter turnovers. They've had some struggles with turnovers this year, but nothing quite like this. So they're going to have to settle down and get it going the rest of the game.
Well, thank you for that, Noah. And as we were going, George Mason had a possession and couldn't make anything of it. It'll be Maryland now to inbound. They'll feed it over to Addie Mack, who actually is making her return after missing the last game against Bethune-Cookman after an injury scare against Princeton last Sunday. Fed over to Poffenbarger, over to Akanawa now. Maryland trying to take back the lead for the first time since early in the first quarter. We'll go back to Poffenbarger on a one-on-one and by the left wing and turns it right over. In comes George Mason. Akanawa trying to stop it, and she will be unsuccessful. Walton again gets the job done. George Mason up by 3 again. And now Maryland trying to reset. Akanawa looking for a lane. She'll watch it go off the rim. Poffenbarger rebounds it. Kicked out now. Maryland trying to reset here. Kayleen Smeichel. A chance to bring Maryland back within 1. Poffenbarger by the wing. She'll feed it over and turned over again. That pass right under the basket, an errant one. And George Mason takes control once more. The Patriots have been in control for most of this game. A surprise as they go for 3, and it'll just deflect off. A poor shot there from MJ Johnson. And now they'll try again. Johnson this time looking for the layup against Poffenbarger. And she'll sail it over, turn it over to Kayleen Smeichel. And now Addie Mack with the ball here. She was having a breakout season before that 1-game absence. And now in the paint, it'll be rebounded. Maryland get it. Kicked out again. Going for 3. It'll bounce off again. And the whistle will be blown.
Right now the Patriots are just letting the Terps make mistakes. That's why George Mason is doing such a good job. A lot of their points, I'd say the majority of them, have come on the fast break where they force a turnover, they just take it from coast to coast. That seems to be what is going well for them in Maryland. They've got to clean up their act right now. Talked about the turnovers. Maryland had 6 in that first quarter, already a few in the second quarter.
Just not the formula that the Terps are used to try and win. It'll be Addie Mack to inbound it. She'll feed it over to Garzone. Kicked out on the side, fed over to Smeichel. Smeichel in a one-on-one outside the arc, fed over to Garzone, looking for the layup, and it'll sail short. Kicked out again. George Mason gets the turnover, and off the Patriots attack goes. They'll go for 3, and they'll sink it right in. A nice shot there by Jada Brown. And George Mason pulling away here. They've got their biggest lead of the day with 6 points. Maryland trying to fight their way back into the second quarter. Garzone behind the arc, feeds it over to Mack. Crossed over, sent to Akanawa, looking for a layup. It'll sink right in. What the Terps needed in response, they find. But now the Patriots are right back on it as the whistle is blown, and it would have been a layup for Moatang, but the whistle will cut that play short.
We got a foul called, I believe, on Mir McLean. I was talking about fast break points. George Mason, 14 of their 29 have come on the fast break, so Maryland is going to have to figure out a way to prevent Mason from getting there.
Patriots trying to find a lane here, being double teamed. They'll kick it out, looking for 3, but nice defense there by the Terps. Garzone will watch it just roll in. It took a second, but the Patriots pick it up. They've now crossed 30 points. Up by 6 here as Maryland's offense still yet to find the response they need. Garzone going in the paint, fed out to Smeichel, and then it's crossed over and turned over again, Owen.
And on that last possession, they just didn't block Welton. That's the one player you need to block.
And they get lucky there. Walton misses the shot. Smeichel, actually Akanawa, will feed it to Garzone. Maryland trying to reset, slowing down their tempo here.
That was the second straight shot attempt from Walton where she really had no contention at all. That is not a recipe for success for Maryland.
So fed back over to Akanoa. McLean trying to help her create a lane, going for two. She'll sink it in. But Owen, the big problem today, that's a season-wide problem, Maryland are a bit too reliant on points in the paint. They do not shoot enough, and if we looked at their volume of shooting compared to George Mason before this game, it's vastly different and a key ingredient for why the Patriots are at the top of the A-10 right now.
It's kind of weird because you have some players like Saylor Poffenbarger who's played very well. I mean, she's shooting over 50% from beyond the arc right now.
So far, Maryland have just been reluctant to give it to other contributors. Addie Mack looking for three. It'll go over. Garzone tried to get the rebound. She will be unsuccessful. Kicked out. Patriots looking for three again. They will sink it right in.
That one barely even hit the net. My goodness, that one almost just went right through. What a shot there from Brown.
Brown has been a sharp shooter so far in the second quarter. We didn't talk about her much in the first, but already making quite the impact. As Addie Mack trying to drive her way in a double team, she'll feed it over to Schmeichel, who will get two right there. But Owen, it's like Maryland take 2 steps backward and 1 step forward, and George Mason still have this 5-point lead. Patriots looking for more here. They'll kick it out. Walton outside the arc, covered by Akanoa. Trying to feed it out. She'll have to send it away. Patriots have slowed down their game, trying to create high-quality opportunities. Kicked out into the corner, and under pressure, the whistle will be blown.
Yeah, Maryland, they finally figured out some type of strategy there. It seems like Mason has done whatever they want. They are finally, getting in the driver's seat there. Did a really good job pressing up on Walton, who has really had it her way here today. She already has double-digit points. She's nearing in on her season average already, and we're just about halfway through the second quarter. So Walton, like I said, 17 points here throughout 1.5 quarters. I mean, if Maryland's going to want to come back and win this one, which we've seen them come back a few times. They had a comeback win against Princeton. They played very well late against Georgetown. And Addie Mack, who is finally back in, she didn't play at all in the first quarter. She thrived in that fourth quarter against Georgetown. She had 23 points in that quarter alone. So I'm sure if Maryland were to, not be able to fall or find themselves in front going into half, it's not like they're in unfamiliar territory, which is a concern with a lot of, good teams. They don't know how to play from behind. But Maryland has done well from behind this season. So still a long game, but definitely a concern right now with the amount of turnovers. And, there hasn't been a lot of change-up in what they're doing. Like you said, they don't really shoot well from beyond the arc, and today they haven't really tried a lot of shots from beyond the arc.
Well, it's not even that they don't shoot well, it's that they don't take the shots. You can't even see if they'll do well or not because they're not creating the opportunities for themselves. For reference, you're talking about Walton at 17. Maryland's point leader, Aluchi Akanoa, has 10. She's already made 5 field goals, which is only 3 fewer than Walton, except the 3-point shooting is the big difference here. Maryland have only taken 6, and while 8 is not that much more for George Mason, it's still, they're creating more volume, they're taking more risks, and some of these haven't, counted as 3-point shots because they've been a little bit errant, but you just have to think that Maryland needs to find someone that can take point as their 3 shooter, because right now they're looking at Poffenbarger on the right wing, which has been their most successful spot all season, but Garzone has been in a slump to start this year, and you have to hope that she'll pick things up. Maybe the Puerto Rico trip can get her going, or maybe they'll have to wait until conference play starts, because for Maryland, otherwise they're relying on Addie Mack, a freshman who, while very talented and deserving to be in the starting lineup, has not been in these situations, has not needed to be a high-volume shooter like this in a college environment. So it's a lot of pressure on her, and Aluchi Akanoa is so talented and so speedy that you can't just pigeonhole her into the role. So, Owen, would you say that it's Garzone who needs to get activated? Who needs to be taking more 3-point shots?
I think right now you have to keep the ball in the hands of the person who's hot. And right now that's Poffenbarger. She's entering today 51.7% from 3. She's 15 to 29. It's the second most 3-point attempts on the team behind Garzone. Garzone, though, she definitely is going to need to get back to what she normally does. At Indiana, she was the all-time leader in not only just 3-pointers in general, but 3-point percentage. And Maryland, they've relied on her a lot to shoot from beyond the arc. even if you take away the three-point shot, she's only shooting 37.7% from the field.
So Maryland will take back over after our timeout ends. Garzone, who we were just talking about, will feed it over. Akanawa will get two right there. As the whistle blows and Maryland pull within three for the first time since the beginning of the quarter.
Yeah, and we heard from Noah. Akanawa is the person who needs the ball the most. When Maryland's going to her, they're doing a good job. She has 12 points already, but when you're very dependent on one player scoring from the same spot every time, it's not going to serve you well, especially against a really talented team like Kentucky, who they're going to be playing this Wednesday. I wouldn't say it's a road trip because it's going to be a neutral site game, but you're going to Puerto Rico to play that game.
That's on the road.
I guess you could say that. You're not going to be in the road environment, though, is what I mean.
They're going to be picking up their air miles for that one.
Yeah. Not that Kentucky won't, but Maryland.
Well, Kentucky gets less. They're a little closer, but Walton takes back over here again for the Patriots as they're trying to rebuild their lead, only up by 2 now. Working their way, Akanawa playing tough defense here. Kicked back out to Walton again. Akanawa on her. Going for 2. She will not find it. Shot clock goes down, and Maryland take right back over. Ozzy Mamadou checks in, which could be a sign that Maryland are really going to be focusing on being in the paint as that pass deflects off her hand and goes out.
They just talked about how they tried to go to the paint. They just tried to go to Ozzy Mamadou in the paint. And Ozzy Mamadou, she's been dealing with some injuries this year, averaging about 9 points per game. So she's somebody who hasn't started every game this season, but she definitely has the talent from England. And, she's been – it's hard to judge, these early non-conference games, especially when you're going through as many players as the Terps are because, you can say their leading scorer only has 14.5 points per game. She also only is playing half the game.
I feel like the 2 trends we can take away from Maryland so far, the turnovers and the three-point shooting have not been up to par for where this program expects to be. That's why they're having trouble here with George Mason down by 2 as the Patriots' attack is roaring here as Kennedy Harris against Yarden Garzone will kick it out. Working their way over. The Patriots will try and get it, but it'll sail over and the whistle will be blown.
It'll be a travel, so Maryland catches a break there, but the Terps have definitely found some command defensively here. Kind of in a really, really bad slump, but Mason hasn't scored in over 2 minutes now.
So Kendall Walker taking over here as Maryland are trying to regain the lead for the first time since the first quarter. Ozzy Mamadou doesn't have a lane, trying to figure out her plan here, but the whistle will be blown.
We have another travel. So back-to-back travels on both sides. Neither team really finding much success this second quarter. Said Mason hasn't scored in over 2 minutes. Maryland starting to find some rhythm, but still not shooting the way they'd probably like.
Maryland has just been thrown off by these turnovers and these whistles that have not allowed them to build on prior success. They keep getting interrupted. As now Walton here against Michael will be dispossessed. Kendall Walker now working her way down. Up in the paint, she'll have to try and send it back. She will to Garzone, going for 3. Bounces right off. And the Patriots get the rebound. Now they'll work their way down. A great chance for Maryland that comes up short. And they deny the Patriots right there. Ozzy Mamadou with the defense.
And that's what she brings to this team. Maryland, they are very guard dependent. Pretty much all of their big star players are guards. You have Garzone. You have Okanawa. You have Saylor Poffenbarger. Those are arguably the 3 best players on this team, and they're all guards. Kendall Walker, who's playing a much bigger role right now. Addie Mack. That's, 5 of your best players, your biggest players, are all guards. So Ozzy Mamadou brings some size, some physical presence in the paint.
Going for a shot, it'll just be turned over right into the hands of Akanawa. And now Maryland will try again to retake the lead. Kicked out to Garzone in the right corner. It'll bounce off again. And the rebound will go to Johnson. She'll kick it out, and the errant pass. Brown, a step and a half off. We'll watch the ball instead go to Maryland.
Maryland, they've definitely found a rhythm defensively here. Mason's still on a very deep scoring drought, and also 4 turnovers in the past 3 minutes and 20 seconds. But Maryland in a scoring drought of their own, they haven't scored in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So both defenses playing comfortably right now.
Garzone again here will send it over to Akanawa, who will get a whistle blown. It'll be a turnover. So unsuccessful again for Maryland, who have really been holding even this quarter. Down still by 2 and only 2 minutes to go before halftime.
And Maryland have 11 turnovers. Mason had a lot of turnovers at the start of the game, and Maryland was capitalizing on that. Terps 17 points off of turnovers here so far with just about 2 minutes left in the half. But Mason's doing a good job at limiting turnovers.
So Moateng will send it over, looking for the layup. It will be found right there by MJ Johnson. And an errant pass skips off the hands of Walker, who will have a brief conversation with Ozzy Mamadou. And Maryland disappointed there. Now they're down by 4. It's not a one-possession game.
Terps, who we already talked about the turnover issues, they have 3 in the last 2 minutes and 50 seconds here. So really just tough sledding here for the Terps in this quarter. And I mean, after that first quarter, the Terps were only down 1 point. They're down 3 now. And Maryland, they could say they were pretty lucky to only be down that 1 point. But George Mason, they have really come to play. It's not a far trip for them, like I said, about an hour away.
Everybody playing the Terps to start this season are looking for the upset that could define their year. As it'll be sent over. Brown over to Johnson. Fed right there, and the Patriots will miss the layup. Moateng unsuccessful, and now Sailor Poffenbarger takes over. Fed to Akanawa. Looking for the layup. It'll be fed over to Ozzy Mamadou, who will sink it in.
Great feed there from Akanawa. Beautiful bounce pass directly to the paint, and Ozzy Mamadou easily converts.
Jada Brown looking for 3. It'll just bounce off in and out of the net. Now back to Kayleen Smeichel. We have not said her name too much in the past 5 minutes. Smeichel sent over to Akanawa. Akanawa trying to drive in, and she'll be triple teamed, it looks like.
Yeah, and she's going to be called, I think, on a charging foul there.
So it looks like Coach Freeze has adjusted her strategy by almost exclusively feeding it to Aluchi Akanawa after trying to diversify and get some three-point chances for Garzone. They've come up empty, and Maryland are just trying to score. 50 seconds to go in this second quarter. George Mason still up 36-34. They have possession of the ball here, and they're trying to work their way around. Moateng against Poffenbarger. Kicked out to Brown, looking for 3. Bounces off the front of the rim. Garzone takes over. Can Maryland reclaim the lead? A pass in traffic. Smeichel looking for 3. It'll bounce off again. Rebound goes to the Patriots, who will work their way down. 25 seconds here as the ball will roll away and the whistle will be blown.
Maryland is shooting it looks like a foul on Smeichel here, isn't it?
Boos raining out from this Xfinity Center crowd. And it's a well-attended game, Owen, considering there's also playoff soccer, men's soccer playing North Carolina right now in the first NCAA tournament game.
And not to mention, it's also Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of students at Maryland have gone home, or Thanksgiving is this coming weekend, excuse me. So a lot of students have gone home, and then not to mention, it's NFL Sunday football too. So very good attendance here for a Sunday afternoon game. But that, that's the benefit of having two teams that are within about an hour of each other playing. But as I was saying, Maryland, they're shooting about 11% from beyond the arc this afternoon. That has got to change.
Looking for more. Walton does not find it. Turned over to Garzone. They'll only have a few seconds. Poffenbarger working her way in. Can she find it? Yes, she can to tie it. Sailor Poffenbarger ends the second quarter on a high note. For the first time since the first quarter, the Terps have tied up the Patriots. Do they have momentum as we prepare for the third quarter? We'll be right back. Owen Korzak will take over the play-by-play again, and maybe we'll hear from Noah Ghelli, our sideline reporter. We'll be right back on WMEC Sports.
Welcome back to WMUC Sports. Maryland hosting the George Mason Patriots, tied up at 36 apiece. I am Owen Korzak alongside Adam Lipman, our sideline reporter Noah Ghelli. Noah, what do you got for us?
So for George Mason on offense, they have been led almost entirely here by Zahira Walton. 17 of their 36 points. That's almost half of the scoring done by one player. Former first team All-A-10, and she is a team captain. So her leading the way is not necessarily surprising, but the extent that is happening might be a little caught Maryland off guard because she's looked like the best player on the court out there. And another thing is the pace of this game. It's been helped by Maryland's turnovers, but George Mason is running up and down the court as fast as they can. And it seems to caught Maryland a bit off guard considering the fact that they like to slow the game down, play through the paint, and they can't do that when George Mason is running and gunning the entire time.
Thank you so much, Noah. Great insights as we are going to get underway here in about 25 seconds. A very, very busy afternoon in sports, not just at Maryland, but nationwide, obviously. Sunday football. Maryland, their soccer team, number 4 seed in the tournament, is tied in overtime with the North Carolina Tar Heels. That game, a barn burner, golden goal opportunities for either team there. But meanwhile, at the Xfinity Center, we're going to get underway with our second half here in a second. Like I said, tied at 36 apiece. Maryland has found themselves behind a lot. George Mason got off to a quick 4-0 start, then Mason went on an 8-0 run, and then Mason kind of took control after that until a buzzer beater by Saylor Poffenbarger, and Addie Mack, the freshman phenom, is going to send it to Garzone. Back to Saylor for 3, and she misses her. This second half starting it very similar to the first with a missed Poffenbarger 3-point attempt. But here come the Patriots. Walton, who's having a fantastic showing here in College Park, gets it to Harris. Harris working on Mack. Back to Walton. Walton attacking the rim. Nice move. Puts a shot up. Won't go. Maryland, good perimeter defense there, and they get it to Mack. Mack. Just relentless by Addie Mack, and she converts her first points of the night, or of the afternoon, excuse me. And the freshman finally on the board.
It's an important play there, and it's nice to remember that Addie Mack missed the last game against Bethune-Cookman due to injury, and looks like she hasn't missed a beat here today.
Yeah, Addie Mack has done a good job generating chances for the Terps as Harris is working on her. Looks for a pick, and that pass attempt was blocked by Saylor. Saylor sending it to Mack. Mack at the rim, won't go. Rebound, Okonwa. Second chance points, and Maryland extends their lead to 4 now. So the Terps in the driver's seat to start this second half. Walton, good defense there. Turned over, Addie Mack. Good defense there by Garzone as Poffenbarger goes to Schmeichel. Schmeichel and 1 in the paint in Maryland. That's what we like to see from the Terps. 6-0 run to start this second half. Kayleen Schmeichel will go to the charity strike.
And really, for the second time today, it looks like the Terps are in full control. They had a 10-0 run back in the first quarter, and since then it was really George Mason's game that Maryland did chip away in that second quarter, but mostly held even. Now they're in full control, already up by 6.
Yeah, and Schmeichel converts on the free throw, and that'll put her point total to just 8, and that's kind of out of the ordinary for one of the Big Ten's best players. Mason's going to have to try and find some rhythm here as they trail by 7 here in the second half. Ooh, what a move there. It won't go, though. It was a wide open layup. It was a fantastic move there by Brown. Put a few Terps on skates and just missed. She did the hard part.
Brown, yes, it was an open layup, but it was a pressure layup. She needed to really execute precisely there. She didn't have the time to really, let's say, plant her feet and plan out her shot, and it just, unluckily for the Patriots, rolls right off the rim. And we have a timeout here, and Maryland have just steamed ahead. Not what you would have expected after watching the first 2 quarters, but the Terps are back in a position where we would have expected them to be, up by 7 here, and they've just been relentless. The real interesting thing, Owen, is that they have not changed their shooting habits. They've been so focused in the paint, they have not tried to shoot more three-pointers, even though they're 1 for 11 on the day, and you have to think that just natural regression would get them a few more in their next few attempts. You know, it's not even like George Mason are having an elite shooting day. 4 from 11 is solid, but not, you know, anything to write home about in particular. And it's just been remarkable. Maryland, 6 more free throws, 8 total. But today has really just been a day in the paint, and Maryland have created more opportunities, and they've delivered more.
And really the biggest difference in this game has been points off of turnovers. Maryland is taking such advantage off of George Mason mistakes. Mason has 12 turnovers, Maryland with 13. However, Maryland has 12 more points off of the turnovers. Mason has just 10 points off turnovers, Maryland with 22, and that has really been the difference here. Terps taking advantage of Mason mistakes, and this has been, I mean, really a fantastic showing here by both teams. Maryland, obviously the heavy favorite, and they've played solid, obviously not up to par. I'm sure even if they come away with a big win here, Freese is not going to be happy post-game.
Well, I mean, you know, they've just got to secure the win first. How big it is yet to be determined. They had to play a close game against Princeton last Sunday, so Maryland on the weekends have been having a little bit of trouble so far this year. They're going to try and keep this momentum going. I mean, you know, you talked about the points off turnovers, Owen, which I feel like the fact that they have 22 and, you know, George Mason would be up still without any points or turnovers for both teams really speaks to the fact that when George Mason are in rotation and when they're executing, Maryland have yet to find answers. But the Terps have, to their credit, been taking a lot of great advantage of some key mistakes and making the most of them. But, you know, I think if Coach Freese is going to be happy because you're talking about how she's going to feel, I think she's going to want to see Maryland beat George Mason when they're in rotation, firing on all cylinders. And you just want to outbeat them with talent.
And then Garzone's going to inbound after the media timeout. So Kayleen Smeichel will go to Garzone. Back, Maryland's going to have to try to get past half court as the clock is winding down. And Addie Mack will facilitate the offense here, working on Walton. Mack goes to Garzone. Garzone tried to get it to, I believe that was Smeichel, it was, and I believe it rolled off of her fingertips. Might have gone off of Kennedy Harris, and it did. So Maryland will have 20 seconds to set up shop here. This is probably the starting lineup that most Terps fans expected, with Addie Mack out there in the place of Kendall Walker. And here's Okonowa, just relentless by Okonowa, driving into the paint and lays it up with ease, and Maryland extending their lead, and they are on a 9-0 run to open this second half of play. 3 of their last 3 field goals for the Terps. Walton, let's see if she has something to say about it, working on Poffenbarger. Walton trying to attack the rim. Does. Converts the shot. I believe there's a foul, though, or a travel, so it won't go. So Maryland remains up 9 points here. George Mason really just not in a rhythm right now. Addie Mack is going to facilitate the offense here as she approaches half court. So we approach the 7.5-minute mark in this game. Great pass from Poffenbarger to Okonowa. Pump fake. Got a Patriot up in the air and easily converts the layup. So we talked about how Maryland is doing what they do best, and Okonowa is in the driver's seat. 19 for her already. Mason now with a shot from Walton, and it goes. What a shot. Or it was Kennedy Harris, excuse me. A beautiful three-pointer, and that'll make it an 8-point game here now. But Maryland is really dominating this second half here. Smeichel goes to Poffenbarger. Poffenbarger kicks it out. A great pass to Okonowa. Goes back to Garzone, mid-range jumper. Good. 10-point game here now, so Maryland definitely finding their rhythm. Goes to Walton. Walton thought about shooting from the corner. Walton just some nice spin moves there, draws the foul on Garzone, so she'll go to the charity strike. It'll be the first free throws of the half for George Mason, for either team. be a penalty on Garzone, who was a little surprised that Walton didn't take the three-point shot there.
Well, I mean, that's been what George Mason's relied on today. And, I mean, earlier in this game we talked about how Walton was leading, the scoring for George Mason and Okonowa for Maryland. Okonowa was once down 17-10 to Walton in points on the day. She's now up 19-17, which really speaks to how Maryland have fought their way back into this game. They've been feeding Okonowa. They have stayed away from going for three. And, I mean, Owen, they look like a Buzz Williams team with how they shoot.
Honestly, and Walton just missed the shot, the first free throw. She converts the second, so she'll go up to 18 points on the game. But both teams definitely in need of some positive energy here. Maryland looking for some shooting success, while George Mason is just looking for anything positive this half. Addie Mack mid-range jumper, good! A deep two. Addie Mack. Hope Terp fans didn't forget about her, but Maryland forgot about Walton there. She just drove to the rim with pretty much no contention at all. And Mack doing her best Walton impression. What a move by the freshman. And Maryland extending their lead. Addie Mack got some fans in awe there. Just incredible move. And now Kennedy Harris, mid-range jumper. That one good. So some back and forth here now. Both teams finding offensive rhythm. Maryland seeming to run their offense through Mack here so far. Garzone goes to Okonowa from the corner. Okonowa attacking the rim. Good. And we're going to have a timeout here. Maryland, 8 of their last 8 shots here in this second half. And Maryland with 19 points in the second half, and we haven't even reached the halfway point.
I mean, it's been all Terps. And, I mean, Owen, we've been talking about Addie Mack because she has had quite the return game. I mean, she coming off a freshman of the week, had an injury against the Princeton and had to miss that game against Bethune-Cookman. But, I think it's almost like iron sharpens iron. Like, it's to both Walker and Mack's benefit that Walker had that breakout game against Bethune-Cookman on Thursday, because now Mack, who almost had the job handed to her after Leah Bartelma went down with the ACL tear, now has to almost fight for her job here, because she and Walker are going to be competing for starting minutes, especially in conference play, and even potentially for this road trip in Puerto Rico.
It's a great problem to have for Maryland. You have so many players who are capable of stepping into the starting lineup on a whim. But Walker and Mack both, really exemplify that.
Someone's going to have to win this job, and right now Mack is trying to prove that it should be her, but it's not been a quiet day for Walker either, who has been a key contributor for Maryland, especially in the paint. On the day, Walker has not attempted one yet, but she has been feeding the ball, and she's a perfect 5 for 5 from the free throw line. So you have to think that, that'll be arguably the biggest decision for Coach Freeze, because the rest of the lineup, is pretty much, I would say, set. And I think that, who's going to be revolving off the bench. You know what someone like Ozzy Mamadou can bring from, a one-facet skill, just being in the paint. And you know who your shooters are. You just have to try and get them more active. But this one position is going to be key for potentially determining the rest of Maryland's season. Will it be Walker, who has a different play style than Mack, or will it be Mack, who has shown to be more of an all-around player with a bit more consistency on the year and already returning to it today?
But given the amount of injuries Maryland has already sustained, like you said, they already lost Bartelme to the ACL injury. And then on top of that, Kayleen Smichael was injured entering the season. She's definitely not been playing 100%. Her role has been a little bit more expanded, especially after the Bartelme injury. But then on top of that, Ozzy Mamadou, who you talked about, she's been injured this season. She's been wearing a brace for the majority of the season. So, and then obviously Saylor Poffenbarger, she had injuries last season. So it's a really good problem to have, is having a lot of depth and having somebody who would probably be starting on another one of these, top 25 ranked teams on your bench.
You're right that it's a great problem for Maryland to have, but it can be a little bit of a problem because you need to identify first, because you don't want to make the wrong decision and then ice a player who, both of them you could say are hot right now. And now it's just on, to see who can finish out the rest of this game, because they've both been getting equal playing time, almost alternating quarters.
And Mack has been on fire this quarter. She got 6 points alone. And Izzy Ozzy Mamadou is in the game. She subbed in for Smichael, who has been playing as a forward basically this season despite her guard status. And really good defense there by Saylor Poffenbarger, as Mason has to reset. Harris Goes to Johnson. Johnson back to Harris. Harris just looking for anything. Goes to Johnson. Johnson in the paint. Gets her own rebound. Back to Kennedy Harris. Harris, that one off the rim. Another offensive rebound for George Mason. And Walton in the paint. She doesn't convert. And Maryland finally gets a rebound. It's Saylor Poffenbarger. She is patient. She's attacking the rim. Sets up Ozzy Mamadou. A bad pass there. Tried to maybe go to Okanwa. They weren't on the same page. You've seen that happen a few times here this afternoon already.
And I mean, that's been a struggle for Maryland. This is a very new team. A lot of these players transferring in. So while they have played now 5 games with each other, they have not found the synergy that you would expect. That's why we've seen some of these errant passes that they're going to have to clean up soon, because a team like Kentucky can take easy and quick advantage.
Here's Walton attacking the paint, working on Poffenbarger. Ooh, what a move there by the star for George Mason, and she is now at over 20 points here. Make it 22 for her. As the Terps are going to have to reset here, and Addie Mack is working on Kennedy Harris. Harris has done a really good job facilitating there today for George Mason. Saylor thinks about shooting it. She's going to do a little touch pass to Ozzy Mamadou, who puts up a shot, doesn't go. Ozzy Mamadou triple team that one, doesn't even get to the rim. Really good defense there, and Volker now taking over. Volker sends it back for Harris, who's working on the freshman Mack. Harris back to Walton. Walton tried to pick a nice spin there. She got Garzone and Mack to both bite. And that one rejected by Ozzy Mamadou. Ball is free. Goes off of a Patriot, I believe Walton couldn't control her own rebound, but I talked about it earlier. Izzy Ozzy Mamadou brings that physical defensive presence to this Maryland lineup whenever she's on the court. Addie Mack is going to attack Harris. Looking for someone to go to. Setting up play. Okanwa. Who else has the ball? She's trying to direct traffic from the arc. Here's Garzone for 3. There we go for Maryland. Their first 3 since early in the first quarter, and it's Yarden Garzone on her birthday. A beautiful shot, and that's her second 3 of the afternoon, and a stoppage. I believe we have a charging foul on George Mason, and Maryland's going to take over here. So it was a tied game at half. Maryland is up 22-10 if you are only looking at this quarter. What a quarter here for Maryland.
And, we've talked about different things coming into today, like the rebounding. Maryland are now out-rebounding George Mason 26-20. That's helped them create more chances and sustain momentum.
Addie Mack draws a shooting foul as she attacked the rim, so she'll go to the line for 2. Maryland up 58-46 with 3:10 left in the third quarter. This was 36 all at the half, and you want to talk about efficiency. Maryland's 9 of their last 11 from the field. Mack will shoot 2. Maryland has not missed a free throw yet, and Mack will continue that trend. And Mack perfect at the line there, 60-46 in favor of Maryland. What a quarter this has been. Kayla Johnson. Kayla Johnson checks in for George Mason, the Maryland native, and we have a travel there on Moateng. Moateng having a pretty solid game. She has 5 points but hasn't scored in a bit. There's a penalty on Addie Mack. A foul on Addie Mack with 3 minutes left to go in regulation. Greenberg sent it to Johnson. Johnson tried to get it to Walton. That one goes into the stands. The fan sends it back to the official. Maryland is going to have another possession, so George Mason now leading the turnovers 15-14. Maryland continuing to take advantage of George Mason penalties. We just got word that Maryland men's soccer is going to penalty kicks against UNC, so hoping that the Terps can continue their magical season as Ozzy Mamadou in the paint, unable to convert. the Patriots attacking the rim. A nice mid-range shot there over Poffenbarger, converted by Amoateng, who has her first points of the half. She's been pretty quiet this second half, but nice shot there over one of the Terp captains, Saylor. Bounce pass to Ozzy Mamadou, who's just taking over in the paint right now, but is unable to convert. She's been very good at generating shots, but has not been good at putting them in. Amoateng now on the other end, mid-range jumper, good. Great shot there over Garzone and Mason with some momentum now. They're just down 10 with 2 minutes left to go in this third quarter.
I think Maryland might have to stay away from Ozzy Mamadou, who's being shut down, and she's battled through injury, and she might not be at 100% yet.
Konoa, send it to Poffenbarger. Poffenbarger spins, fade away. That one, it went in and out. Second chance rebound. Garzone converts. A huge bucket there for Maryland. And now Mason on the other end. Kicks it out. Wide open, Walton. You don't want that. That one, easy money for one of the best players on the court today. Zahira Walton now at 25. What a game she's having. But Addie Mack is having a good quarter. Fade away. That one good. Back and forth this whole quarter. Addie Mack, the freshman phenom for the Terps, has 10 points in this quarter alone. Mason now attacking the rim. It's Kayla Johnson. That one. Jumper won't go. Rebound, Ozzy Mamadou. Or a stoppage. It looks like a penalty or a foul called on George Mason with just 3 ticks under a minute left in this quarter, so 59.7 left. Penalty on MJ Johnson. And Mir McLean back out on the floor for Maryland now. She is entering. Kennedy Harris also entering. So a few new faces on the floor for the Terps. And Maryland has all these points. They only have 11 assists here this afternoon, Adam.
I mean, it's just been a very focused day that, the only Terp starter who has really not been able to get anything going offensively is Saylor Poffenbarger, who only has 4 points. But she has been feeding the ball a bit. 3 assists on the day, and she has been doing a solid job of rebounding with 5. So she's been contributing, but it's important that Maryland can get a freshman like Addie Mack to pick up for Poffenbarger, who's supposed to be the top scorer on this team. I think that was the preseason consensus, Owen.
Poffenbarger's definitely having herself a season, as Maryland and UNC are on penalty kicks, and Maryland is not in the driver's seat. But Mason, they're going to have 2 free throws, excuse me. Or not Maryland, or not Mason, Maryland, excuse me. So they're going to call a foul, and Ozzy Mamadou, who's not probably having the day she'd like to have, 3 of 11 from the field.
She was also cold to start the game against Bethune-Cookman before heating up a little bit, so Mamadou has been struggling to maintain a high level of performance throughout the game. You have to wonder, will Maryland try and rest her a little bit, maybe play her a little less on the road in Puerto Rico, knowing how much travel will go into that?
She missed both of those free throws. And a pass right to Poffenbarger, and Poffenbarger sends it to Garzone. Garzone lays it in, and Maryland extending their lead with Garzone. Passed the ball directly to Poffenbarger. She caught it like a receiver, and we'll have a timeout on the floor. We have a whistle, I believe, some stoppage. Foul on Kendall Walker. You talked about how she was in a little bit of a position battle with Addie Mack, and she's back on the floor. Addie Mack, what a period she had. 10 points this afternoon. All of them came today, and Poffenbarger denies that one, takes it away, lays it in. Maryland up now 15. What a quarter by the Terps.
Just a textbook swat of the ball, and wow, Maryland's bench are fired up, and they've got the crowd right back in it. Even though they're up by 15, the crowd had not been, they've been waiting a little bit, wanting to make sure if this Maryland lead was real. Now they've got proof right here.
Maryland has just been unreal in this quarter. Rainey Wilson checking in. So different group of Terps that we've seen. And Mir McLean sends it to Kendall Walker. Walker facilitating. She's on the M logo near half court. 25 seconds left. Fade away. That one off the rim. Poffenbarger gets the offensive rebound. Garzone, wide open shot. Off the rim again, but another offensive rebound. It's Kendall Walker. Walker, we have a stoppage. We might have a jump ball here. Thirteen and a half seconds left, and we're just, this Maryland men's soccer game is just going nuts right now in the penalty kicks right now. I think Maryland's in the driver's seat, unsure, but we're focused here at the Xfinity Center. Here come the Patriots. A pass that was trying to go from coast to coast, ended up going into the stands. One of the dancers for Maryland hauled it in. We'll see what Maryland decides to do here with 8 seconds left. Garzone. We know how dangerous she can be. She's attacking the rim, lost control of it, and that'll go out of bounds with 1.1 seconds left. Or I guess just pretty much 1 second left in this quarter. We'll see what Mason decides to do here, if they decide to do a full court heave or if they're just going to take it to the quarter. Maryland, what a quarter they had. 32 points in this third quarter by Maryland. And the shot from Welton, that one not even close. So we will go into the fourth quarter. Maryland, a dominant third quarter, up 68-53. Adam Lipman will take over play-by-play. We might hear from our sideline reporter, Noah Ghelli. I'm Owen Korzak. Don't go anywhere. Fourth quarter coming up next.
We're back for the fourth quarter of action here. George Mason trailing Maryland 68-53. The Terps took over in the third quarter, and Noah Ghelli will tell us more about it.
Yeah, and it was a massive takeover for the Terps in the third quarter. 32 points in the third quarter alone. Addie Mack had 10. Yarden Gonzan had 8, and they led the way for the Terps, who closed out the quarter on a 6-0 run. Now, that 32-point quarter got the Terps in real striking range of that 80 points that they've had every single game so far this year, and it's given them a big lead going into this fourth quarter.
So Maryland will try and keep that momentum going as the Maryland men's soccer team celebrate a penalty kick win over North Carolina, winning it in penalty kicks 4-3. So that is the first win of their NCAA tournament run, and they're going to hope that they can do more after winning the Big Ten title. But regardless, Maryland women's basketball will try and get more winning on the day for the Terps. Sailor Poffenbarger to feed over to Akanawa. Akanawa kicked out onto the side. Wilson deflected away. almost turned over by the Patriots. They'll get the ball, but on their knees, it'll be a three-point shot that'll sink right in. What a play there by Paige Greenberg, making the most out of an unconventional situation. And now the Patriots are down by 13. Addie Mack had a crucial third quarter. She'll send it over to Poffenbarger. Over to Wilson. McLean back over to Akanawa, trying to drive her way through. In a double team, she'll kick it back over to Poffenbarger. Poffenbarger in a one-on-one, trying to find a lane. She'll go for the mid-range. It'll bounce right off. Maryland get the rebound, but the whistle will be blown.
Might have been a penalty or a foul on George Mason there. Mir McLean went to the ground. It's confirmed. It's going to be on number 11 for George Mason, Moateng, who's made her presence certainly felt. She has 9 points. That's second on this team, behind obviously Walton, who has 25.
So the Terps take back over. Garzone to feed over to Poffenbarger, looking for three. It'll bounce right off. Maryland will fight for the rebound. Will they get it? Yes, they will. Garzone will take it. McLean brought to her knees and sent over back to Garzone. Akanawa trying to drive her way through in a triple team. She'll have to send it back. Fed over to Mack, trying to drive her way through the paint. It'll roll right off and get swatted away.
And Maryland doing a good job there, just relentless there. Good offensive rebounding there. Garzone got really a deep rebound, nearly at half court. But obviously you wish that Mack is able to convert there, but you're the Terps, you're still in the driver's seat, but this is a really good George Mason team. You know, this is a team that is at the top of the A-10. They were the champions last year. They made it to the tournament, so they're certainly capable of going on runs. We saw that especially in the first quarter. They were dominant that second half, so Maryland, you can't just fall asleep here.
And a mid-range attempt is good for Kennedy Harris. And the Patriots are pulling closer, so after Maryland took charge in the third quarter, otherwise this has been quite the back-and-forth affair. Now Maryland will just try and secure this 11-point lead now, as Addie Mack will feed it over to Garzone, looking for three. It'll bounce off. Rebound there. McLean will get two. Mir McLean takes care of it on the rebound, and Maryland are rolling here. And Owen, something that the Terps are going to be watching out for, they've scored at least 80 in all of their games this season. They need to get 10 more to continue that streak for potentially one of the best starts offensively for the program in its history.
And Mir McLean is going to shoot one here, and she's been somebody who she plays a really big leadership role on this team. She's one of the captains, and she's been all over the place. She's played at UConn, Virginia, and now is bringing that pedigree from those two programs to Maryland.
So her shot goes errant, and it's fed over back to the Patriots, looking for three. It'll bounce off. Maryland fighting for the rebound, and right in Mack's face, she'll watch the ball go out.
Addie Mack, she's not going to be one who gets a lot of rebounds. She's one of the smaller players on this team. There was a big collision there, I believe, with her and Moateng, excuse me.
So Garzone will get things restarted for Maryland. Addie Mack now in a one-on-one, trying to drive her way through against Harris. It'll be fed over to Poffenbarger in the left corner. Almost dispossessed. She'll regain control. Fed over to Akanawa in a double team. She has no play there. And she'll go to the ground, and the whistle will be blown.
This game is getting a little chippy here. We've seen a lot of whistles here already, just about 2.5 minutes in. Some fans not happy that there wasn't a call there. Crowd that's, like we said, for a busy Sunday on Maryland campus and nationally at the sports level, they're still in it.
Walton for three will watch it bounce right off. Maryland get the rebound. McLean digs it out, and now Mack will take over. Trying to find a lane. She's got a double team on her. Now just one, but still doesn't have a good look here. Akanawa being defended well. Mack will have to feed it over to McLean, who in a double team will watch it bounce off the glass. No good there. Maryland so far quieter in this fourth quarter.
And Maryland, they have opted to go I mean, they're following the same strategy where they want as much as they can get in the paint. Excuse me. It's working for them, but it's been more about drawing fouls. We saw Ozzy Mamadou pretty much take over the paint for Maryland, but was not really successful at converting in the paint. Meanwhile, McLean finally converts a free throw. She missed the last one.
So on her second attempt, she gets one in, and she has taken over in the role that Ozzy Mamadou was playing. Her third will go in as well, so now shooting 2 out of 3 from the free throw line. And George Mason will go again. Amoateng sent over to Greenberg. Greenberg in a double team, Poffenbarger and Akanawa. She'll get it out, and it'll be an easy layup for Harris, who will just send it over. George Mason 1 point shy of 60.
Those are the cons for Maryland of swarming the player with the ball. You have an open player out there, and for Mason it was Kennedy Harris, who's played a very solid game here today. She's done a really good job at facilitating this offense.
So Mack will send it over to McLean. Garzone trying to get the layup. She'll be denied right there. Triple teamed, and Maryland sequence a bit predictable for this George Mason defense.
Yeah, and Maryland, they're trying to keep Schmeichel healthy. She obviously was facing some injuries early in the season, and haven't seen her in really since the beginning of that second half.
Garzone in a double team will just give a pass right away to Paige Greenberg, who will work her way down the court. 2-on-1, now just dealing with Mack. Kicked over to Walton, now in the corner, Harris. Trying to find a lane, Maryland playing tough defense here. Amoateng by the arc, looking for a mid-ranger. She will watch it bounce off. Maryland get the rebound. Garzone falling to the floor. But a nice defensive sequence there for Maryland.
Yeah, and this is kind of the opposite of what the last quarter was. Last quarter was just an offensive explosion by both teams. This quarter definitely fallen off a little bit. Maryland came in, this quarter was 68 points. They have just 4 through 4 minutes.
So it'll be another free throw. It'll be the first chance of the day for Yarden Garzone. And off she goes, and it will go right in. Now trying to double. Garzone will get the second as well, so a perfect 2 for 2 on the day. And now the Patriots will try and find a response here. Down by 15, but it's been a much closer fourth quarter than it was in the third. Walton against Poffenbarger, and the whistle be blown before a shot could get off.
Poffenbarger looks a little confused as to what was called. I don't think she was a fan of the call. Looking at the replay, it did not look like that should have been called, but it's going to be a shooting foul, and Walton can go to the line. But it did not look like something that I probably would have called. And we were talking about we've said Poffenbarger's name a lot, but not in the normal way. She's been done a really good job at rebounding and facilitating today. 6 rebounds, 4 assists for Maryland. Only 6 points. She's shooting 3 for 9, and the concerning number, she's 0 for 4 from beyond the arc. And she has been, like I said earlier, she was coming into today shooting almost 52% from 3.
So Walton will make both of her free throws there. Now 2 for 3. Actually, 2 for 4 on the day. Like one of them actually just rolled right off. And now it'll be Garzone to inbound. Maryland up 74-61. Trying to add on and put away this game. Poffenbarger fed over to McLean. Looking for the layup. It'll go off. Kicked out to Garzone. Feeds it over to Akanawa, who will send it back to Mack, and Maryland will restart. Mack facing Little John here. Will be dispossessed, and Garzone will take over. McLean in a one-on-one. Can she get it this time? Yes, she can.
And that's a shot that Maryland really needed. Their offense was struggling. They hadn't scored in about 2.5 minutes. And McLean finally gets the Terps back on the board.
Maryland 4 shy of continuing their 80-point scored streak. As Amoateng working her way in, and Poffenbarger almost gets the turnover. This time she gets the block. Can she get the layup now? It'll be fed over to Mack instead, behind her back. And the whistle be blown before what could have been a highlight play of the season, Owen. That was almost a behind-the-back spinning layup. That would have been something.
Yeah, and Poffenbarger was right there to receive that, had that been able to count. But Poffenbarger, I mean, despite her offensive struggles, she's having a fantastic game. She's got 6 total rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, the big number, 5 steals. Just fantastic numbers there by the senior.
And they just announced over the PA that men's soccer will be advancing to the 3rd round of the NCAA tournament, which means that it's likely going to be on Friday, December 5th or Saturday, December 6th.
Well, it'll be actually this Saturday, November 29th, round 3.
Oh, that's the quarterfinals that I'm thinking of,
yes,
I see.
And I'm stoked for that one. I'll be on the call for that one on ESPN+. That's going to be a fantastic game. Whoever Maryland plays, it's looking like it's going to be either SMU, who's the ACC champion, or Stanford, who was ranked number 1 not too long ago. So it'll be a good game nonetheless. But as we take a look back, or as we're coming back to Xfinity Center here, this game's 15 points. So 5 minutes left. Maryland should be able to close this one out with ease, but we said George Mason, they have been hot a lot today. If they get hot again here, this could come down to a tight finish.
Well, so far Maryland have been more commanding. They have a 15-point lead here, and it has not been slipping away. They've had enough of a response for most of this quarter. They just need to put away the last 5 minutes to end this homestand undefeated and get ready for Puerto Rico. We'll be right back on WMEC Sports after this break. We're back for the 4th quarter. Addie Mack from the free throw line will sink her first one in as Maryland get things going again right away. Now trying to make it 4 for 4 on the day. She will. So Maryland now just need one more bucket to reach 80. And George Mason will try and deny that. Garzone trying to dispossess the Patriots. Over in the corner, they'll go for 3 contested. It'll bounce off. Maryland will get the rebound. Mir McLean has been exceptional this quarter on the defensive end. Now Addie Mack will captain things by the Maryland logo. Facing Walton, taking her time. Being patient here. She'll feed it over to Akanu. Will try and drive her way in a double team. It'll be fed to McLean. Behind the back, she'll get the layup. Mir McLean has been showing out this 4th quarter. Could this be someone that the Terps rely on more as we get ready for conference play in a few weeks?
Yeah, McLean, she is a bigger build, something that the Terps kind of lack. They don't have a lot of, players with a significant amount of size. Obviously, you have Sailor Poffenbarger, who's tall, but and same with Yarden Garzone, but they're a little bit more lengthy and a little bit more fluid. Meanwhile, McLean, she's somebody who, can just take control of the paint. And we saw the struggles from Ozzy Mamadou earlier today. She was shooting about 3 for 11. We see McLean, who's 3 for 4, who's added 2 from the charity strike. That's someone who already has a lot of experience, a lot of pedigree that Maryland can certainly rely on for, that big role.
So Addie Mack will take over after a George Mason possession came up short. Facing Littlejohn in the middle of the court. Mack has been patient this quarter, captaining this offense as a freshman as Garzone looks for a mid-range, and she'll find it right there.
That was a beautiful shot from Garzone.
Now 16 points on the day for one of Maryland's most prized transfers. And it'll be Kennedy Harris here for George Mason, who have yet to find much response. Looking for three in the corner. It'll come up short and off the rim and bounce right out.
You know, you talk about the prize transfer in Garzone, and then you forget about Okonawa, or you can't forget about Okonawa. And this is a team that lost some talent. They lost Tibiasu, they lost Cheyenne Sellers. Those are two players who played significant roles in the past few years of Maryland women's basketball and the success that they've had in, you know, having two players with a lot of experience. Obviously, you have Okonawa with a lot of ACC awards. She was one of the best players in the ACC tournament this past spring. And on top of that, you know, Garzone, who's in the Indiana record books, two really solid players that Maryland can rely on. And that's not even including, you know, the players like Poffenbarger, Addie Mack, Mir McLean as well.
And Okonawa will watch it go right off. And this time the rebound goes to George Mason. We have not been able to say that much since the first two quarters. And looking for a layup, they won't find it. Maryland get the rebound, and their offense will take back over. Garzone across. Over to Walker. Will feed it to Okonawa. Behind her back, contested. It'll roll right off, and the whistle will be blown.
Maryland, they're on an 8-0 run right now. Mason hasn't scored in over 3 minutes. They're shooting one of their last 8 field goals, 0 of their last 5. It's concerning for the Mason offense. But Maryland's going to go to the charity strike again. This time it's going to be Okonawa.
So Okonawa will try and add on from Maryland. She is 1 for 1 on the day from the line. Terps already up 21, and she will sink her first. Now a 9-0 run for Maryland over about the last 3 minutes. As Okonawa's second will also find the net. Maryland up big here. And after this game was so close in the first half, the Terps have really pulled away. The Patriots have found little answer. Johnson will get the whistle blown after knocking Okonawa down.
I'm surprised Maryland is sticking with, you know, all these up and as I say it, Poffenbarger and Okonawa coming out. I thought that I was about to say I was surprised that they were still sticking with their big guns late in this game, up big, especially with the amount of injuries they've already sustained this year. But they're getting some other players out there. You've got Kendall Walker back out there and Ava McKinney, who haven't even heard from her today. She was just on SportsCenter Top 10.
Well, she was on SportsCenter Top 10, which was an early birthday present because today's her birthday, and now she gets to play in today's win. Well, it looks like a win for Maryland.
Yeah, it would be a historic collapse if they are unable to pull this one out.
Terps up by 23 with 2 minutes 15 to go. Foul there again, as you know, after we saw that, you know, Maryland were struggling to get things going and build momentum. That's been the case for George Mason in the second half. They've just been interrupted by turnovers and fouls, and Maryland have been rolling since the beginning of the third quarter, which you can really credit to Addie Mack for getting scorching hot and allowing her teammates to reset. But now the Patriots are going to try and do just that. It'll be a Moatang against McKinney. Now Little John trying to find two. It'll bounce off the glass. And off the Terps offense goes. Garzone almost collides with Walker. Walker will step back, taking over Addie Mack's role, and, you know, an audition for the two of who will have more playing time moving forward. Walker now will feed it over to Garzone, and it looks like they'll say it was a travel there. The play will reset.
Another stoppage here. I think both teams are trying to just get out of here. I'm like I said, I'm a little surprised they have Garzone out there.
Well, Garzone has already reached the season high in points with 16. Her previous high was tied between two games, which had 12 apiece. 6 for 13 in field goals overall, 2 for 7 from three-pointers, which is progress after she had been particularly cold. And she's taken less assists. She's focused on trying to be her own point generator, and that's what Coach Freeze challenged her to do. So now Littlejohn will send it over by the arc. Will be kicked out again. George Mason, knowing this game is likely out of their reach, are just trying to add more as it'll go right off. And the whistle will be blown.
I believe we'll have a free throw here, and you want to talk about this second half for Maryland where they had a 23-point differential. What a half. I mean, that was a rough first half, and they were still out of their tie. That really shows you how good of a program this is and how good of a team this is if you're having a bad game against a team that is the reigning Atlantic 10 champions and have played really well. They're on a 4-game win streak. To be tied with them goes to show how good this program is. And then now in the second half, just taking it to it, they had nearly 50 points in the second half. And with a lot of that, they didn't even have Kayleen Smeichel out there.
So Maryland playing shorthanded as Sanaya Littlejohn will miss her free throw. And Maryland will take over. Kendall Walker now against Littlejohn. Maryland just being patient here, knowing they're in full control of this game. Up 22 as Walker will look for two of her own, and she won't find it, but Maryland get the rebound. Boyko over to McKinney. Walker now to reset.
Walker's trying to take some time off the clock. She could have probably tried a three-point shot there.
Garzone looking for three. It'll bounce right in and out as the Patriots get the ball back. Trying to just add on more here. They'll miss again. They've had a lot of short shots in this fourth quarter. A lot good looks, but poor execution on them as Garzone will now captain things at the midfield. Facing Leah Keys. And they're just going to wind the clock down. 30 seconds to go. Garzone just dribbling the wall. Could she try and add on? And Walker will go for three instead, and it'll bounce off. And the rebound will instead sail out of play.
Maryland, they're going to start the season 7-0. And that's a really good start in this program. They've been so good under Coach Brenda Fries. And not only are they going to start 7-0, they're going to score 80+ in each game.
So as the Patriots dribble the ball with under 5 seconds, they have one more chance, and instead they'll be dispossessed by the Terrapins, who pull out an 84-62 win against the George Mason Patriots, finishing this homestand on a high note. And just as Owen said, they've scored 80 points in all of their games. They've won all 7 of their games, and now they'll take that momentum to a road trip in Puerto Rico for 2, where they'll get their first big test of the season against number 20 ranked Kentucky. And the Terps will then return home in the first week of December to play Mount St. Mary's before Big Ten Conference play starts on the road against Minnesota on December 7th. So, Owen, what would your big takeaway be from this Maryland comeback to win it here?
I mean, when you play not great in the first half and you still come away with a 22-point win, that's obviously a good sign. But Maryland, they're going to have to clean things up. This was not a pretty start, and we've seen them start off slow against teams like Georgetown, against teams like Princeton, where they have to have really strong second halves in order to win. And it's okay if you're going to be a second-half team, but against number 20 Kentucky, you're not going to be able to be a second-half team. You're going to have to play consistent, strong basketball the entire way through. But it should be a really, really fun trip for this team, and hopefully going to be some good games. And that Kentucky game is going to be one that's going to get a lot of national attention.
So that'll be on Wednesday at 5:30. That'll be on Flow Hoops. So an interesting network that the Terps are not normally on, but they take care of business today in front of the Maryland faithful, winning it 84-62 over the George Mason Patriots. So on behalf of myself, my partner, Owen Korzak, and our sideline reporter, Noah Ghelli, we thank you for listening today after this big Maryland women's basketball win. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.